Hey everybody, I'm B. Jaman, aka The Terrible Australian at Supermarcy.com, and welcome to my video review of the action romantic comedy Mr. Right. So let's get right into it. There were a lot of things about Mr. Right that really appealed to me and definitely made me very interested in checking it out. The first one being the cast. You got Sam Rockwell, Anna Kendrick, Tim Roth, RZA, Anson, and so many more in the film. So that's sort of the combination of those cast of actors definitely really appealed to me. And of course, another one is that it was written by Max Landis. Now, I know Max Landis is one of those kind of figures in pop culture who gets a lot of shit from a lot of people, mainly because he's definitely a very sort of out there kind of personality, to say the least, in terms of what he thinks about, film and pop culture and whatnot. So I can understand why some people don't like him, but I think he's actually, based on the films that I've seen of his so far, I think he's actually a really interesting and original and unique writer, because two films in particular that he wrote, Chronicle and American Ultra, I thought were both terrific, and they both actually made my honorable mentions list of their respective years when they were released. So with that regard, I was interested to see how Mr. Right would turn out. And of course it was also directed by, and I'm probably going to butcher this guy's name, so forgive me, Paco Cabezas. I probably butchered his last name, so forgive me. And he actually directed this Nicolas Cage film that I actually saw last year called Rage, or it was also known as Tokarev, which I actually thought was decent. So, a decent action film. So that's sort of the combination of this talent definitely made me interested in checking out Mr. Right. Having seen the film, in a lot of ways there is some really good elements to the film, but unfortunately I kind of feel like the film is a little bit of a mess. And I think the main reason for that is I wasn't really a fan of the first two-thirds, particularly the first half in particular, because I actually thought that it was kind of really awful, and I just found it really irritating, particularly because Sam Rockwell and Anna Kendrick are great actors. They're who always dive in 110% into their roles and never seem like they're phoning it, and they're definitely not in their roles in this film. But I just didn't find their characters, at least in the first half of the film anyway, I just found them kind of annoying, particularly Anna Kendrick's character, but it's not her fault or anything like that. It's just the way the character's written. And I guess in a way, it's not like a romance film where it's like two polar opposite people kind of coming together and whatnot. These are kind of two people who in their own way are kind of crazy. Like Anna Kendrick's character's recently just gone through a breakup, so she's gone a little crazy from that. And also Sam Rockwell's character, who's a hitman, who's very sort of quirky and bizarre in his own way. So the combination of those kind of, like, two basically crazy people getting together, I could definitely see feels very fresh as kind of a romance. But the personalities of these two characters would definitely kind of rub me the wrong way. Mainly because at times I just couldn't really relate to either of these characters, and I just found them kind of irritating. But I think it's more of the characters rather than the actors themselves. And but once the film sort of gets, and of course there's also this kind of feel, you can tell that the director Paco Cabezas, again, if I butchered his last name, forgive me, and of course writer Max Landis kind of went for sort of a Tarantino-esque type of film with this, particularly sort of 90s Tarantino. And the film in a lot of ways kind of feels like it could have easily came out during that 90s post-Pulp Fiction period where a lot of filmmakers were trying to basically make their own type of Tarantino film. Films like 2 Days in the Valley, Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, kind of having this sort of really kind of quirky, comedic sort of crime films. And this one kind of fits that bill. But it's really, but at times it, like I said, it works really well, and other times it doesn't. Particularly the first half, again, just didn't really work for me. But once the film got into the second half, that's where it got really a lot better. And once the relationship between Sam Rockwell and Anna Kendrick's characters develops more, and she's kind of thrust into his world, that's where the film actually got a lot better. And the action set pieces were actually pretty solid, particularly sort of the hand-to-hand fight combat sequences. Shootouts are pretty solid, and also the cast get a little bit more to do as well. A lot of them sort of, and it is an interesting cast as well when you like I said when I read the names out earlier, and each one sort of has their own kind of their own quirky character to work with, and I have to say everyone did a pretty solid job with their roles, but I kind of feel like it never really sort of found, it was kind of, you can sort of watch this film and see all the influences that it was getting from, like, Tarantino, and maybe a bit of Shane Black in there as well. But unfortunately, I don't feel like it kind of worked as a whole. Like, it's a pretty decent action film, but as sort of a romance, I didn't find it all that effective, because I didn't really sort of particularly care for the couple at the center of it. And I just didn't really find it all that funny. And a lot of the sort of the jokes, particularly in the first half, just really fell flat to me. I could definitely see this film getting a bit of a cult status behind it. But, and like I said, for a lot of reasons. But for me personally, I just thought it was just an average film. Like, it has its moments. And it's definitely, I'd say, if you enjoy kind of comedic crime films that have sort of a Tarantino, Shane Black kind of element to it, I'd say it's worth a rental at best. Like, kind of a movie you would watch on a Sunday afternoon. But you could definitely, there was definitely a lot of potential in it to be a really cool and really good sort of romantic action comedy film. But it didn't quite work for me. Like, it's sort of half and half. Some elements work, others just, but unfortunately it's sort of the elements that didn't kind of won out in the end. So if I do rate Mr. Right, I give it a solid 2.5. So yep, that's the end of my video review of Mr. Right. I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all later. See you everyone. Bye.